I was probably going to head out though in like 15 minutes or something. So just so you know, or oh, you've got
Okay.
it. Cool.
Yeah,
For the
that's
time
okay.
you're good hanging with you.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good to have good Dhamma friends. So
Yes.
anyway, DJ and I were talking about the practice has to be repeated, rinse and repeat. We have to keep doing it over and over again, very much like we make payments on a house, or we have to pay the rent, or we have to keep breathing, that we don't own it. So an experience like a past life experience or an enlightenment experience or a joyful experience, that experience doesn't make a mark in the sense of now everything is different. That this one event is just all there is to it, is just this one event. And time is going to roll on. The question is, what's your next event? And the next one after that. That's the perpetual now, that everything has to keep coming back to right now. And so we can say then that the people who have the viewpoint of an experience is valuable is ordinary right view. Okay, I've made my payment and I got the result, and now the result is mine and I own it. But I do remember past lives because I had one past life experience without really understanding that, oh, you need to have enough past life experiences to recognize that you're creating those past life experiences right now, one at a time, and calling it a past life experience to where, in fact, you really don't know. It's just a thought that comes up. And it often comes up in the form of an image. One of the images that I had at one time was the image of 6 monks carrying a coffin on a mountain trail, and one of the monks at the back slips and falls down the mountainside to die. That was one of the past life experiences. Okay, except that that was just a thought. Who's to be able to know or prove other than me believing that that was a past life experience rather than it just happened? And when I was a child, and then later I would have dreams about very, very large buildings burning down, and I would be caught in, like, one of the dreams was falling down a shaft in one of these big buildings, like an elevator shaft, or falling into a courtyard. Another one was when I was walking on the stairs, then all the stairs were completely on fire. And as I was walking on these stairs up or down, the whole staircase system collapsed. And I used to count that as a past life experience. And then I had a really interesting past life experience that had to do with Golgotha and 3 crosses. And I came out of that experience convinced that I was one of the two thieves that was crucified with Jesus. And I had a good friend call me out on that. And also, I have in California in the 1970s, when people were really getting into rebirth and reincarnation, I had actually met 5 different women who would swear up and down and beat you with their rolling pin that they were Cleopatra. How many Cleopatras have there been? Okay, so really that's the whole quality is that we think that something is real for the long term because we have one-time experience with it. And so this is actually just a view, just an idea, just a concept. And it really doesn't matter whether rebirth or reincarnation exists or not. The question is, what attitude do I have about my own face and my own smile and my own mind right now? And it doesn't matter what happened in the past.
Okay.
Okay. So this is basically now the shift of the view between ordinary view and right noble view. So the Sutta number 17 that the Buddha, 117, the Great 40, where it starts out, listen, O monks, and I will tell you about right unification of mind. Right unification of mind is translated from the phrase Aryan Sama Ditti, right noble view, or right noble organization of mind requires right view. So right noble organization of mind is sama area samadhi, where everything is collected together in a unified way. And then he says, with its supports and its features. Now the supports for the Eightfold Noble Path that leads to this state of an organized, unified, blissful mind, it's got 4 factors that create that. And then it has 3 features that describe it. That's the Eightfold Noble Path. Okay? Is the 4 items gain this 5th item that has 3 attributes. 1 plus 4 plus 3 is 8. This is the Eightfold Noble Path.
Right.
Okay? It's divided into the 3 sections of Sila, Samadhi, Panya.
Okay.
Sila Samadhi Panya is the way that all beginners practice. By getting into seclusion, throwing the unwholesome thoughts out of their mind is the Samadhi part, and then the Panya is to have the clarity once the mind is free from the unwholesome thoughts. So long as we have unwholesome thoughts, like the dreamy state of these monk falling off, or the 3 crosses, those kind of images that come up, cannot be really fully investigated, other than to see that if I cling to them, they're unwholesome. Otherwise, there's not much to it. That in fact, in the this sutta, where the Buddha is actually talking about ordinary right view, is the distinction between ordinary right view and wrong view is that wrong view means that we can make changes, we can do what we want to do, and we can be successful and get away with it even if we're harming others. That we can act badly and get away with it.
And this
Every
is part of what
child
we were
has
talking
that.
about the other night.
Right. This
When
is
I
what
asked
we
you
were
about,
talking.
like, what's the difference?
Yes. And so this is what we mean is that wrong view is the view that every kid has. Every kid has the wrong view. Why is that? Is because mommy says you can't have that piece of cake. Watch it disappear, Mom.
Right.
Okay. I can get what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so we go around like that. And so the parents, for every one of these little tyrants, they call it the terrible twos or the infant tyrant. We all think that we can go and do what we want to do and get away with it. And the whole rest of our bringing up is mommy slapping us around to prove that we can't get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the 2 versions of right and wrong view. Is that the criminal thinks he can get away with it, and all the community is there to punish him to prove that he can't get away with it. And by the way, we wind up being that whole community ourselves. We take on both sides of it. And so we'll have the thought I can get away with it, and then we'll have the thought I can't.
Right.
Okay, so all crimes then, like bank robberies and whatever like that, they want to plan carefully to make sure that they can do what they want to do and get away with it. And some people are successful at that, and they become billionaires and Bill Gates and Elon Musk and all of that because they kind of thought that they could get away with it. Except that in Bill Gates' old age, he recognized, no, he got all of that money from Microsoft, but what value did he do if he got the whole world and lost his soul, right? And so now Bill Gates is out there trying to make up for all of that wrong view that he had with philanthropy. Give that money back. Let's do some COVID research. Let's give some
Vaccinate people, this, that, and the other.
right. So that's the altruism that we
When we
come
saw
to.
that, when they
Right.
decompiled Windows and saw that you had to
We're
have
trying-
Microsoft running. Yep.
Right. So we have to make up for all of the bad stuff that we've done when we had the wrong attitude that I can steal this stuff and get away with it and make my empire. Yeah. So you've got
Yeah.
your empire. So what?
Right. Sandcastle.
So it's all sandcastles. So you're the richest man in the world this year. So what? All that means is all the other people who are wanting to be the richest man in the world, they're all enemies of yours. You're all competing for who's the richest.
Yeah.
Right? So we can't get away with it because of nature. But the idea is that we have to go do nature's job by proving to all the criminals in the world, including myself, that we can't get away with it. We can't go around harming people. And so in the technical definition of wrong view, it says the attitude is there is no mother, there is no father, there are no monks, there are no holy people, there are no mystics who can see, and all of that. In other words, there's no retribution. I can get away with it. And then so right view, ordinary right view, brings in all of that. Oh, we're going to get an army, and we are going to get a priest, and we are going to get everything we need to make sure that you understand that you've got to cooperate with us and live in this society. You can't get away with it.
Okay.
And so that's the turmoil that every child goes through. And we never stop it. That's always the turmoil that we have inside, is the distinction between our right view and our wrong view. Our ordinary right view is a punishment model. We're going to keep you from getting it. Okay, so then the Buddha introduces the concept of noble right view. What is noble right view? Guess what? Wrong view is a viewpoint. It's an idea. It's a concept. I can get away with it. An ordinary right view is a concept. No, you can't get away with it. We're going to have rules here. We're going to have ceremonies. We're going to make sure that you understand that you can't get away with it. And that's just a concept. So you could say that these concepts are like a noun, a view, a viewpoint. But noble right view is not a viewpoint. It is a view in the sense of an observation. It's an investigation. It's what Sherlock Holmes does. He investigates. He's known to have that spyglass or that magnifying glass, and he's there investigating and looking while he's got his friend, Dr. Watson, who was there musing about what could have possibly happened before he's gotten all the evidence. And that's why Dr. Watson keeps getting blown away by Sherlock Holmes, is because Sherlock Holmes is not interested in coming to a conclusion. He's interested in gathering evidence.
Right. Investigation.
Investigating. So we're going to now do the Sherlock Holmes thing. We're going to start investigating our own crime scene. Rather than thinking that we know what happened here, we're going to start investigating it. We're going to have it with that wisdom eye. We're going to look and to investigate and to keep track of what's going on. That's the noble right view. And so that's where the investigation, step 9 of Anapanasati, comes in, is know what your mind is doing. What kind of mind states are you in? Okay? That when people have a past life experience and then they're all elated about it, right noble view is to not believe that, oh, this thought that I'm having must be real from the past, because all of my thoughts are real. All of my thoughts, so this is a real memory. Instead, we investigate. Oh no, that's just a thought that's in the mind. And that's all it is. It's not real. It's just a thought.
Isn't that a thought?
Well, while we're doing the investigation, we do come to the conclusion right here, right now, that that's a thought, not that it's real. Okay? That normally we think the thoughts automatically are just real. I had that thought. This is my thought. I'm a good person. Therefore, this must be a real thought about a real thing that happened, rather than understanding that we're quite imaginary and we imagine a whole lot of stuff. And we have to recognize that this is an imagination. This is a thought. And so this is how we investigate, to find out that much of what it is, if every thought that we have is real, then why not let's have some really wholesome thoughts to make our reality real in a wholesome way, rather than making our reality real based upon what old thoughts just happen to come up. Because we live in our own thought world. We don't live in the real world. We live in a thought world. This is very clearly pointed out in Paticca Samuppada.
Yes.
With perception.
Yes.
Okay?
Right.
That the real world comes from consciousness. We experience the real world through our senses, through being conscious. But then, in order to understand it, we make sense out of it by measuring it with something from the past. We compare it. I see that tree and it looks like a palm tree because I've seen palm trees before.
And someone told me that was.
And so I can say that's a palm tree because I know what palm trees are. But if I was a child and fell out of a palm tree and broke my leg, now every time I think of a tree, a palm tree, I'm going to have a different kind of mentality about it, rather than having the thoughts that an ape would have, or a baboon or a monkey who climbs that tree and grabs the coconut and has lunch. My experience of palm trees are different than somebody else's experience of palm trees. And so the definition of the palm tree carries that past with it.
Right.
And we can see that when we look, that we don't have to remember falling out of that palm tree. We could just allow this palm tree to be a palm tree, perhaps with the attitude, I'm not going to climb you. Not even in my mind, and fall out.
Okay.
All
Is
right,
consciousness not one of the aggregates?
Well, yes, it is, and that's part of the reality, that consciousness is our taking in of reality. Perception is when we modify it to fit it into our world.
Into our story.
Yeah, we write a story about what's real, and the story is actually an old story, not a new story.
So when we talk about 5 aggregates, in my mind, for some reason, until this conversation, they've all existed as a grouping. Yet, just because eye consciousness arises, you don't need ear consciousness to arise. This is deaf people. But consciousness in and of itself as an aggregate, it does not have locality?
Right, but the issue, though, is perception. That in the 5 aggregates, you have the body, you have the feelings, you have the consciousness, you have perception, and you have the sankharas. So instead of leaving consciousness as merely consciousness, we plug that consciousness in as input to the perception, and the other input is the past. And so we take and we concoct a new story based upon new information and old information. If we only had new information, we would be much more ignorant. But we become knowledgeable because we add the past in. Now, none of those features, in the correct way of teaching it, none of those features is the soul. None of those features are real. That, in fact, most of the people really get stuck in the idea that who I am is my personality based upon my past. What I used to be, that is what I am now.
And this is why people find it so difficult to change.
That's why they find it so difficult to change. And when
Right.
they believe in rebirth and reincarnation, now they've got a huge past to lug around.
Yeah. Big burden.
And so people think that, oh, if I remember my past lives, that means I'm a wonderful, high-class spiritual human being. But the reality is that if you're carrying around a long past, you're a pretty low-class shape.
Yeah.
And part
Yeah.
of that low-class shape is the delusion that I'm high-class because I have confused my memories with real events that I have no way of proving.
Right.
Okay, so
To include whatever
once
just happened 5 seconds ago.
Mm-hmm. And so then the
Sorry.
Buddha goes into the sutta in the sense of after we've gotten the understanding of what right view is, he says right view is the predecessor. It has to be the starting point. Okay? But we have to be able to remember to start over again. That in fact, normally our views are so polluted with our past that it does so much influence. But here's the point. If we recognize dukkha, this is really what the whole point about it is that there is dukkha and we can see it and then make the change with right effort to avoid it. But everybody gets started in meditation because they can see dukkha. Everybody starts out with that noble, I see this, and this is painful. Because there's a whole lot of people who are in such a bad state of denial that they will deny every pain and every suffering and everything they've got on somebody else. Donald Trump's a really clear example of that. He will find someone to blame for, and he's not willing to take the responsibility of, I made this mess. I'm the one who did this. Okay. So that's the place where we all have to start, is we have to start with taking the responsibility that this dukkha can be fixed.
Okay.
That's why everybody calls me. You would have never called me if you thought that but you did call because you say maybe I can get something, I can do something called meditation and make a change here.
Right. And
So
I've seen
everybody starts with,
which is why I keep calling.
Right.
You
so
know?
everyone has a little bit of right noble view. Everybody has a little bit, or almost everyone. Everyone who starts in meditation for sure has a little bit of right noble view because they can see the dukkha with the idea that they have something to do with it. And so now we're, go ahead.
Who meditates?
Well,
is the meditation
let's
doing
not
us?
get into, well, let's not go so far into that. Let's stay at least at the ordinary level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That it is that one who has the personality view of me that suffers.
Yes, okay.
So that's the beginning of right noble view. Is the beginning is to see that that there is dukkha, and that somewhere in there I've got something in it. That we do have an inkling of the second noble truth. That there's something that I'm doing that causes all this suffering.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
so now we're ready to. Okay, so now we're ready to roll. Because what we need to do now is to remember to keep looking at what the dukkha is. To remember to keep looking at what's going on right now. Is this thought a wholesome thought or not? Is this a thought that I'm taking and running with it, like the image of a cross, and all of a sudden I'm on that cross 2,000 years ago? Okay, that's all just mental stuff, and it brings up feelings. But my good friend, I remember his name is Sumi. He caught me on that. He says, look at what you're doing. Everyone who believes and remembers past life experiences, they want to remember past life experiences of people that they have heard about in the past. We don't want to
course.
be an obscure. We want to be a Cleopatra or a criminal on the cross with Jesus or a monk in the woods or something like that. These are the kind of things that we dream up. Right. The archetypes, precisely.
Yes.
So when we start to investigate this thought and recognize, oh, this thought has nothing to do with what's happening right now, let's have thoughts that have to do with what's real, because what's real is coming in through the senses right here, right now. Everything else is just a bunch of old junk that we're adding to the present moment. So guess what? When we create the reality upon the screen of the mind, the Buddha calls this Salayatana. Now that's a very important word, Salayatana, because the atana is the Pali word for the senses. The eye, the ear, the nose, the throat, all of that kind of stuff. But the Salayatana is the internal representation of that. And we take that internal representation as what's real, rather than what's consciousness that's coming in that's real, because we have added stuff to it.
Oh. Okay.
And what we have added to it is often the feelings. In other words, we pre-program ourselves for how we're going to feel about this. When we created it with the poison of feelings built into the package.
That's what we call Vedanya?
Vedana.
Vedana. Okay.
Vedana. Okay. And so from the Salayatana, the image, that image is what impacts us, not what we actually see.
Right.
What we actually see is someone walking down the street, maybe in a particular uniform or whatever, and then we know what that uniform is and we know what that person is. And we make a prejudgment about it. A clear example of that is you see someone dressed in the what is now called a clown suit. Right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Police, cops, uniformed officers, right? Okay. So when you see a person in a clown suit, you assume him to be a clown and you behave as if he were a clown.
If he's making cops.
So where in fact it's actually just a human being. And if we treat him like a human being and treat him well, he won't act like a clown. He's just wearing a clown suit. But we're the one who turned the clown suit into a clown.
Yeah. Okay. I can dig it.
Okay, that's how we created our reality.
Why is it said that we use clothing for culture? Why do that? Is that just a human being thing? What is it? What is the reason of the suit in the first place?
Okay, here's how that happens. There are three kinds of thoughts bringing up three kinds of feelings, or three kinds of reality, in fact. This is the second noble truth. We like it, or we don't like it, or we're not sure what it is. So anything that's new, we don't know what it is, and we want to know what it is because we want to find out, is this dangerous or is it good? Is it bad or good? We want to make a judgment about it because we don't want to stay in the state of not knowing. We don't like being ignorant. That we would rather have a wrong answer than no answer at all. So long as we've got an answer, we feel safe.
Right.
Even if even the answer is wrong, and we will cling to our wrong answers rather than going back to the state of I don't know.
And when we say we're not sure, we're not talking about I don't know. We're talking about the kind that runs in circles, confused.
Well, those are the same thing. I don't know and not sure in this context is the same thing. I'm not sure. I don't know. And that state, we don't like it. In fact, in our society, we're taught not to like it. In the really old days, universities, you had to write a paper. In English class, once a week, you had to write a paper. Now they give the kids multiple choice test. What's wrong with multiple choice test? It invites the kid to guess. We're supposed to
And
guess.
recorded on guessing.
When we go around asking what are ideas about things, people will give you a great big long list of stuff, and the very correct answer is, I don't know. I'm not
Right.
sure.
Right.
But this is something really important that Bhikkhu Achan Po taught me, was to stay in that state of not sure, because we can find comfort there. We don't have to find comfort in wrong answers. We can find our comfort in not knowing at all. Allow ignorance to be ignorance, and we're okay with it.
Is there such a thing as a right answer? Not sure.
Let us say that it does. Right answers do exist, but not in all cases. That in fact, wrong answers are probably more common than correct answers.
Got it.
The real reality should be, if we were doing Dhamma work everywhere, then there would either be correct answers or I don't know, I'm not sure.
Got it.
We would not have any false answers. But look how many false answers that we have picked up over the years. How about astrology?
Yeah.
Astrology is just a whole collections of wrong answers. Those stars up there is no Leo, there is no Capricorn, there is no Aries. Those are just thought systems, concepts in the human mind, based upon a particular viewpoint of the planet Earth. That's why we have the perception of the ages, is because the Earth changes. And so what used to be the North Star Polaris for us 2,000 years ago was not the North Star. It was someplace else.
Right.
Right? So that kind of proves right then and there that astrology is not real.
Right.
It's an observation, but a limited observation. And what we need to do is to keep observing and keep observing. And what has happened over the millennia is that by observing the sky, we have come to find out that there is no zodiac. It doesn't exist except in the minds of humans. That humans made up the zodiac. The astronomers now are more interested in the actual stars themselves and all of the ways that they relate to each other without having to draw a mental picture of them as a zodiac. So this is just one example of wrong view. Ignorant, wrong views. Because look, have you ever been to an astrologer?
No.
They want money. They're selling something.
Yeah, right.
All right. So, but if you can take that example of astrology, you can apply that to any religion, including medical science.
Right.
Medical science is a kind of a religion.
Right. And it has been. Since it first came
and it has been. Why? Because the whole point of a doctor is to make people healthy and save their lives. And guess what? Everybody gets sick and dies anyway.
Okay. All right.
But at least that doctor got rich off of you getting dead.
Yeah. And they used to have that phrase, first do no harm. I'm sure they still say it every once in a while, but it doesn't seem to have the same
but
stick.
it does not seem to have soaked right in.
Right.
That's
so is
right.
This
to do no harm is
noble.
Is.
Right. The thing as it is, whatever it is it cooperative in nature? Is it collaborative? Do these questions make sense, or do I sound like a loon?
Well, people cooperate in it from the particular point is that being unsure and not knowing is dissatisfying. It's not satisfying to not know. And so everybody has the same kind of questions. I mean, everybody in the old days was out at night. They could see the stars above, and they didn't know what to make of them. And so all of these stories about stars came up. The heavens. I mean, all religions have stargazing as part of their base. God's up there someplace. Sky Daddy.
Right.
He's up
Sky
there.
Father. Yes. Sky Father. In almost every language, Sky Father, at least in every Indo-European precursor, PIE. Wow. Huh. Right on.
And so the right noble view is to recognize that these are just conceptualizations. These are viewpoints. The fact is that we really don't know.
Right.
We have no evidence, and the question then is absence of evidence, evidence of absence. For
Right.
Dr. Watson, that is no. Just because we don't have the evidence doesn't mean that I can't make up a story about it. Okay.
Right.
But
Right.
but Sherlock Holmes will say the absence of evidence is meaningful.
Yes. Each and every
Okay.
story.
Right. And so the absence of evidence is actually evidentiary.
Right.
And if you have absolutely no evidence of God, and you have 7 billion people for 3,000 years, all of us have no real absolute evidence of a God, we can pretty well say that at least it's irrelevant. I don't know, but it's not very important. I really don't know, but we have no evidence.
Right. And the Buddha says this, yeah, if there are future lives, then what you do now will matter. If there were past lives, what you do now matters.
Right. But if there is no future lives, then what you do now matters now anyway.
Right. Exactly. We don't need to engage in conjecture.
Right. We don't have to do the conjecture. So this is the whole quality of right view. Now, when we add right sati to keep looking and keep looking, that ordinary right view comes to a conclusion, and then we don't have to keep looking anymore because we've got the answer. But right noble view is to keep looking and keep looking and keep looking and don't come to a conclusion. Leave it in the realm of the unknown and just gather evidence, gather information.
Right. What is this about unification of mind? When you said
Well,
Arya,
that's the unification of mind, because if I don't know something and I make something up, then my mind is not unified. If I can stay in the state of I don't know and I can keep that going, then that mind is unified. It's unified and comfortable in not knowing. But if we want to know, we will gather evidence and change it. So look how many different views or values that you have. I think you've both frozen.
Oh.
Okay, you're back. Okay.
Yeah, I think
you both froze, so it must have been on this end. Alex is still frozen. You're back. Let's see if he comes in again. There's nothing that I can click with the mouse that's going to bring him back.
Nope.
But thinking that I can click on his image and get him back, now that's magical thinking right there.
Yeah, so, precisely.
So back to that point, we'll continue on while he is there, frozen. That we have to keep doing this. Oh, he's gone altogether. He'll call in again, I'm sure. So this is the quality of the sati, is to keep waking up and keep looking and keep evaluating and use that information for this present moment, but not for the future. For the future, we're going to gather new data. In Christianity, they have the phrase new wine and old wineskins. Have you heard that phrase? No. Don't put new wine in old wineskins. Okay. The wineskins back then were animal skins, the hide of a goat or whatever. And it has a lot of lanolin in it, and for a while it's got life in it. So when you put the new wine in a new wineskin, they'll work together. But if you pour the wine out of an old wineskin and pour new wine in it, it's going to crack and break and bust up and be of no good.
Sorry, friend, phone got toasty.
Okay. We were just using the analogy of wineskin. You probably heard, don't put new wine in old wineskins. This is a phrase from Jesus. That's
Yes.
exactly what he's talking about, if you
Right.
understand it. Okay. The reality is that if you have a new wineskin, which means a goat skin that's stitched up to make a container out of it, and you put the new wine in, all of the lanolin and all of the stuff that's in that wineskin will combine with the wine. But if you take the wine out and let that wineskin dry out, if you put new wine in it, it's going to bust and break.
Gotcha.
Okay. So this is what they mean. And they knew that way back when. You don't put new wine in old wineskin. And Jesus is talking about, don't put this new data into your old bag as a concept and make it old. Okay. So you take new data to make a new decision right now. And then next time you need to see again and take in new data to make a new decision right now, that you don't use old data, the old wineskin, for the new present moment. That we don't make, we stop making concepts, or if we are making concepts, because when we're speaking to each other, we do it in conceptualizations. But you at least know that this is the conceptualization. You know that this is a thought form. And that's different. That's a viewpoint rather than a viewing.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. That's the past is conceptualizations based upon old observations. And the Buddha is teaching, no, let's do some new observations and stop relying upon the old observations, especially the ones when we were making that were so heavy duty and profound when we were 2 years old.
Right.
Let's not use that data. Let's not use that old wine bottle. Let's put the new data in a new reality.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the beginning then of the actual practice, because we have to remember to keep doing this. Remember to keep looking.
Yes.
Remember to see how things are right now. And remember that we're looking for dukkha. This is the whole point. Dukkha, dukkha, nirodha. Where's the dukkha right now? Are you there to look at it and to see where the dukkha is coming from? It comes from making conceptual ideas and facts and thought that is often ill-conceived. It's magical thinking. And so when we catch ourselves in ill-conceived thought or magical thinking or anger or frustrations about something that happened in the past, we can say, hot dog, I can see that. Aha, I see you, Mara. I see you, old wineskin. I see that stuff. And now we can make a change. That's the right effort. To take the effort to come back into the present moment and drop the past. Go ahead.
I have to think on how to phrase the question for a moment. But how, well, you know. Okay, well, sorry. The question I want to ask is, how does one get anything done? Yet, obviously, things are done, regardless of whether or not one.
I need to do stuff is a concept.
Yep.
I need to do something is a concept that you just had. How do you get anything done? The answer to that is look closely and see if something needs to be done right now.
Right.
Rather than just having the concept that there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be done. That's a concept.
Yeah.
Well, my life is so busy. Oh, I've got so much stuff to do. How many people go around? I have no time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I've had students say when I've recommended, oh, why don't you watch this particular video? The answer has come back, well, I have to make time. Guess what?
Yeah.
You don't make time. You spend it.
Yep.
Okay, well, why do we have the idea that we have to make time? Is because we've already spent all of our time conceptualizing and having concepts. So we've run out of time because we think that we've run out of time. That's still a concept. Isn't that beautiful? Right now, the fact is that this present moment is all the time that we've got. How are we going to spend it? Are we going to spend it thinking that I have no time?
It feels so, it feels amazing. It feels amazing. It's so much egg on the face, it feels like, but I guess that's more concept.
Right. That's just more conceptualizations. Guess what? You got no egg on your face. That's just a concept.
Regular face. Oh my. Okay. All right. Well, that explains that question I had about right view, huh?
Right view is looking to see. Noble view is looking at how things are right now without trying to compare it to the past.
And this is why one's right effort is to prevent unwholesome thoughts, to bolster wholesome thoughts, to make sure future wholesome thoughts and prevent unwholesome thoughts in the future.
Exactly.
And we do that by remembering to look.
By waking up, by remembering to look. And then the secret ingredient, the one that is an open secret, but this is the secret that most Western Buddhism is missing, is that you got to make that change. You got to come out of the conceptualized thinking and start looking at what's going on and recognizing that much of the thinking that we're doing is concepts, and we can have more wholesome thoughts about how nice it is right now. We're in paradise.
Yeah.
Let's get a load of the paradise that we're in. And I'm not talking about paradise as a concept, which it is for most people. I'm talking about what's real right here, right now is good enough.
Just this over and over.
But when we have a bunch of concepts about it, then we destroy it. And we live in the concept instead. We don't live in reality. We live in a conceptualized world.
Okay. And this is, wow, what a beautiful fucking thing. Oh. Holy shit. Okay.
The right effort is to come out of our concepts and come back into the reality of the moment. Take a deep breath and tell yourself everything is okay right now. I don't have to be worried and frustrated about my concepts. I can just enjoy the moment.
Right.
That's the right effort. The right effort is to remove these unwholesome concepts and start living life right here, right now.
Yeah.
And when we do that over and over again, we begin to enjoy being alive. We enjoy that we've got command of this. You see, as long as it's concepts, we don't recognize that those concepts we made up ourselves. And so we give weight to these concepts. And we think that the concepts run our lives, when in fact the concepts don't run our lives. We run the concepts. And when we recognize that that's what's going on, we take charge of our life.
Yes.
And that's the Sammasankappa that brings about these four things together: right view, right sati to remember to look, the right effort to make a change, and then the enjoyment of being in the here now is what brings the mind into unification. So long as we live in concepts, there's no end to the concepts conflicting with one another.
Right. Okay.
So the only place that you're going to find unification is in reality. Here's an example of that. I ask the students often, how old are you? Within a year. And the guy says, oh, I'm 36. Okay. And that's the truth. That's the facts within a margin of error. You don't have to get it down to the second, because you can't ever tell somebody exactly how old you are, because by the time you get it out of the mouth, you're older. Or you can say, in 5 minutes, I will be exactly this age. But the whole point that I'm making is that if you lie to me, there's no end to the lies.
Right.
I'm 300. Oh, I'm 600 years old. Oh, I'm 12 months old. Oh, I'm a newborn. I mean, there's just no end to the false information, and all of these are concepts.
Yes.
So the concepts conflict with one another because they're all a bunch of crap, and there's no end to the conflicts that happen within one's own mind. But when we live in reality, the mind becomes unified. Okay?
Gotcha.
So if we have doubt in the mind, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, I don't know what it is. If we can come to the conclusion, I don't know, the mind is unified. But if we say, no, I have to know, I've got to figure it out, it's this, no, it's this, no, it's this. Now the mind is not organized, it's not unified. It's confused. Right. And it has that desire of wanting to know rather than being satisfied with not knowing.
Yeah.
And so we're supposed to know. Our teachers teach us to guess.
Yeah.
Much of the games of chance at the casino. Right. The casinos rig those games because they want to know what the answer is, and the average guy who goes into the casino, he's in magical thinking, oh, I'm going to win this one. All right. So that's why concepts are so painful, is because we make mistakes. We create a whole bunch of suffering when we have a delusional system, and all we have to do is to wake up and say, hey, I know what this casino is.
Okay.
The last time I was in Las Vegas, I spent a whole week in Las Vegas, and I watched a friend bet 25 cents, 1 quarter. That's the only gambling that we did that whole time. But we toured every one of those buildings. I've been in the Glass House. I've been into, there's no end to it. There's a whole strip, you know. A little America, a little France, Caesar's Palace. There's just no end to it. And you can walk through there and enjoy all kinds of things and never spend any money.
Yeah.
If you,
I remember the last time I was there,
you realize that you don't know what's going to happen. But if you have the idea, I am going to win, and everybody who goes to Vegas to gamble goes with the concept, I'm going to win. And they always lose anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where conceptualizations come from. And it is not just liberating, but it is marvelously happy liberating to know that my concepts are going to get me into trouble. Let's stay in reality instead. Let's not perceive this stuff based upon the past or based upon our greed or based upon our ignorance. We recognize our ignorance. We can see that we're ignorant, and that's a good thing.
Right. Stay there.
Because there's way too much information out there for any one human being anyway.
Yeah, I fucking say so. That's for damn sure. Holy shit. Okay.
And so we have to learn to love and be comfortable not knowing. That's why Bhikkhu Buddhadasa and especially Achan Po were so strong about that issue of not sure. Not sure. You don't know. Stop making up things and think that you've figured it out. Because we haven't.
Right.
We haven't figured it out. We don't know. Let's keep looking. Let's keep observing.
That sounds
okay, so here's another one, and that is lying. Whenever we lie, we are not unified. We can only be unified in the truth. Now, if I'm lying because I'm trying to cover up some bad deed that I've done, then I don't like who I am. I've done that bad deed. I'm in a state of denial. If I tell you I didn't do it, then that means that I can half believe that I didn't do it. And now I'm in a state of disunity because I know that I did it, and I'm saying that I didn't do it because I'm trying to protect something, a self, that really doesn't exist. I haven't seen it yet. I have only a
Right.
concept about who I am. That's the personality view. So the personality view is a view, a concept, a viewpoint, rather than an observation. That's why the Buddha advises us to come out of personality view and stop having a view about who you are and let yourself know that you don't know who you are. That's beautiful. I don't know who I am. I'm a moving target. Just like you can't ever tell your exact age, because while you're telling how old
Yeah.
you are, you're getting older. Okay.
Right.
So even when you're telling yourself who you are, you're in the process of making a change right then and there. You're changing.
Why are we so scared to be known?
Well, we're taught that. And it's instinctual. Because if we don't know when that alligator is sneaking up on us, we're lunch.
Yeah. Okay.
And the best thing to do about that is look for alligators.
Right.
Look for them. They're hidden
Right.
there, especially if we're in the river. You got to watch. You got to look. And that's the modern or the Buddha's way of doing it. But in the old days, we were instinctual. Oh, I've got to be on guard because I might be eaten. And that becomes an instinct inside of us. And so we are on guard when, in fact, the reality is that you know for sure you've already looked. I mean, DJ, are there any alligators in your room?
Nope.
No. Okay, they're not there. So why are we being afraid of alligators right now?
I don't know, but I love this conversation. I'll tell you that much. Okay, I see that. So
all right, so this is the going into the unification of mind means that we're organized in reality. We don't lie. We're not in doubt. We're not restless. In fact, we're free from all of the hindrances when the mind is unified and organized. And if there are hindrances, that means that those hindrances are hindering us from being in an organized, unified state of mind.
And this is why we have to keep the practice on.
Right. Because at every moment's a new moment. And if we get the new moment and we got a concept about how wonderful it is, that's still just a concept. We need to keep renewing that. We need to keep paying the rent on this place. We don't own it.
So how do we?
You need to make them.
Like, here's my question, right? We have a sitting practice. We sit, we practice, boom, all these things, dot, 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 stories. You get up, you start moving. Stuff collapses, whap, 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 whap. You see the clown suit, you see this, you see that. You maybe think there's an alligator, all these other things. So in motion, I'm like, okay, yeah, what can I do? I could watch, long breath, short breath, fine breath, coarse breath, and I try to get real familiar with the breathing in that way. But in motion, how do you maintain?
That's the secret of the secluded practice. Is we actually are intending to build the skill of remembering, to build the skill of looking.
Okay.
And then building the skill of making a change, so that if we're sitting there and we're conceptualizing about a past life or something, then we're not gaining any skills.
Right.
But if I can see that thought and says, I don't have to have that thought. That was just an image. I don't have to write a story about it.
Okay.
Back to the present moment. And so we practice remembering to come back to the present moment. And then we're out in the world. If we see that clown suit, that's a concept. We got a human being here to deal with. Let's deal with this human being as a real, perhaps friendly person. But if we treat him because of our concept about the clown suit, we're creating the clown, not the cop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Huh. Okay. I can.
And so we have to remember when the cop comes that he's a human being, a man that's dressed in a clown suit, but we don't have to treat him like a clown. We can treat him well.
Yes.
And the example that I use is, hello, officer, I am so glad to see you out on patrol tonight. We really need a good police force, and I've heard so much about you guys, and I think that you're doing a marvelous job. Thank you so much for being on duty. We really appreciate you. What can I do for you tonight? If you start that conversation that way, you're not treating him like a clown anymore. You're treating him the way he wants to be treated, his reality.
Right.
Okay?
Wow.
So this is how we take that. That's just one example to the answer to your question of, we do, when we're out in the world, we continue to create the reality based upon our concepts. If you can catch yourself doing that, you can stop it right then and there and have a much better exchange with whoever you've got with you.
Yes.
Which brings to the point that I made before, and that is, what is your obligation to all of these people? To smile at them and put on a happy face.
Gotcha.
That's our obligation, is to bring that unification of mind in so that we can see what's going on directly and then deal with it correctly, rather than dealing with it through the concepts the way that we used to, the habits of the mind.
Right.
And believe me, everybody that I talk to has been stopped by a cop, and it did not go well. And so we expect that every time that we get stopped by the cops, it's not going to go well. But now I'm hoping that the guys that hear these videos, they can say, hot dog, I can't wait to get stopped by a cop, because I'm going to change the way it's going to go, and it's going to go really well. Because I'm going to be there for it, and I'm going to see the reality of the situation rather than creating something from the past where it didn't go well.
Right.
Okay, so this is now the unification of mind. The unification of mind is being able to deal with this now, wherever we are, even in a traffic stop, getting rolled on a gurney into a hospital. There's a lot of stuff going on. Pay attention to the nurses around you. Hey, guys, I'm really glad you're here rolling me around in the hospital. Instead of, oh, poor me, what's going to happen, you know? And so this is the unification of mind. Now, when the mind is unified, and here's the whole point to it, when the mind is unified, we don't want anything, we're satisfied. We're okay. And if we are satisfied and don't want anything, we're very, very unlikely to harm someone. If our mind is good, it's very unlikely for us to harm that cop by trying to cite the law to him or tell him he's wrong, or it's unconstitutional because of this, that, and the other high seas law that, yeah, you can arrest me at sea, but you can't arrest me on the highway. You know, there's all kinds of concepts that are out there. And if we come out of those concepts and treat this guy like a real human being, then we could deal with it in reality. So we don't want anything. We're not going to cause harm trying to get it. And so that's where the precepts come from, is because the precepts are given to people that are too ignorant, too stupid, too unwise to know that they'll figure that out for themselves. And so we start children off with precepts, and those precepts become laws and rules and regulations. And now the child suffers under those laws, rules, and regulations. I really want to chew that cop out, but I'm not supposed to.
Right. And then that becomes something to quest after.
And so we get in at war then within our own mind, and we become disunified when we use these things as precepts or as rules, rather than seeing directly as wisdom. It's much better for me to treat this guy well.
Yes.
Than to treat him badly, the way that I want to treat him. Because I had a cop hurt me in 1973, I want to hurt every cop that I find. I mean, that's the mentality that we have.
Yes, it is. You're right.
Trying to take revenge.
Yeah.
But when the mind is unified, then this guy is a new guy. He's a new friend. I'm really happy to meet this officer.
Yes. Okay. I see that.
And so this is where the precepts actually come from, is the behavior of a noble mind. But we give these precepts to people that are not noble to help them live their lives with a set of rules, because it's better to have the rules than to have no rules and let the emotions just fly. We become a terrible two. We become that tyrant again.
Right.
We need the rules to stop us from being a tyrant, but once we are no longer a tyrant because we can see reality as it is, we don't need the rules.
Right. Because then we know how to
Okay.
play well with others and follow instructions.
Right. That if you've got a broken leg, then you need the help of the cast and the crutches. That's what the rules are. It's the crutches and the cast to help us with our broken mind. When the mind is healed, we can throw out the crutches. We can throw out all the rules. We don't need the rules.
Yeah. How fun we want. So is this all because somebody took too much rice way too long ago or something? Is that what that is? Does that make sense as a question? Like, why would this ever come about? Is this all because someone took way too much rice for themselves some very, very long time ago?
Right. Very, very long time ago, people were insecure right from the get-go. I mean, we had tigers and we had elephants and we had all kinds of problems. And then in that group of people, you'll have one guy who wants to be the hero. He wants to be powerful. He wants to be the head monk. Or in modern times, he wants to be the warlord.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
which means he wants to go around telling other people what to do, and us ignorant victims allow him to do that. And now we've got a government that tells us what to do. All because someone sometime wanted power because he felt insecure.
Oh, that's.
And now you have all of these politicians wanting all of this power. It's especially interesting now is that politicians in the old days, you're supposed to be a politician because you're trying to serve people and help in the community. Now politicians want to be politicians so that they can gain power over other people and tell other people what to do.
Right. Huh.
And so this is why we're developing Sangha here. The Sangha is from the noble-minded that everybody is a friend. We don't have to take power over and control other people at all. It's hard enough for us to control ourselves. And the interesting point is, especially like in a relationship with a woman or a wife or something, some close person, not gender, but we can't control our minds, and knowing that, we can also understand they can't control their minds. So if they can't control their minds and I can't control my mind, how can I take power over them?
Right.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't force her to do what you want her to do because she can't force herself to do what you want her to do.
Exactly. We're all renting.
Yeah, we're all renting, and we have to keep making the payments. We have to put in the effort to keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing, because the inertia will take us back to the stop, back to the default position that we were taught when we were children.
Does that ever go
now, the
away?
whole point, well, that's the next question, isn't it? The answer to that is it doesn't matter. What does matter is when it does come up, do you have the skills to deal with it?
Yes.
And when it does come up, do you have the skills to know that it came up so that you have the skills to deal with it? But we all want to be lazy. Oh, I want all my troubles to go away so I can sit here happily and not have any troubles. To where, in fact, it's a lot of fun to say, aha, I caught you that time. To make a game out of it. Don't expect things are going to get perfect, because it's not.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
But you can get very, very skillful at catching that stuff before it comes up. That in fact, shouting in surprise or in anger is a very good example. Yes. When you stub your toe, what do you say? You
now
say
I
something.
try not
you
to
say
anything, but I do still catch myself going.
Yeah, so it right.
Right.
but an ordinary person who is not doing that, when
Oh,
they
God
stub
damn
their
it.
toe, they're, oh, God damn it, oh, why is
DJ,
that
why'd you
furniture
leave the
here? And then
Lego
they
there?
just go on. Right. And we blame the furniture for the fact that we weren't watching where we were going.
Okay. All right.
All right. So this is the whole thing then, is to getting the mind organized requires us to keep looking and keep looking and keep looking and develop those skills so that we can handle anything. But the ordinary conceptualized mind comes by, all right, I've got enough concepts and I don't want to do any more. I want all the problems to go away so I don't have any more problems. Where in fact, we're the ones who created the problem in the first place. It's just a concept. So be careful. Instead of wanting it to go away forever, that's wishful thinking. That's the concept.
That's magical thought. Yep.
It's a magical
I do this
thought.
10 times and 11 times it'll be gone. It won't.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay.
Or I played this piece of music on the piano 100 times now. I'm not about to make a mistake. And as I have a thought, I fluffer. I fluff it up.
Okay. I see that. Man, that's wild shit.
Yeah. So don't expect it to ever be finished, but you can then over time look back and reflect and say, well, how? In fact, this is a good practice to do on an occasional basis, is to reflect. When was the last time that you got angry? What was it for? How much did I run my mouth? How long did it take me to get over it? And pretty soon you'll come to the point of, gosh, it's been a year since I've gotten angry. Isn't that marvelous?
Yeah.
And so you reflect upon it like that and say, hey, wow, I haven't had to deal with those kind of problems in so long, but we never want to bring up the concept of, therefore it'll never happen again.
Got it.
Because then we stop looking and then it comes.
Yep.
As soon as we stop looking for alligators, one's going to grab us by the leg.
Okay.
Because we just walked right out into that river saying, oh, there's no more alligators. Oh, I'm safe now. If we have that concept, we're going to lose a leg. No more.
All right. I see that.
But a much better view is to stand on the riverbank and look and look and look and say, hey, there haven't been any alligators in this pond for 5 years. Now we can have an idea that maybe it's getting safer.
Got it.
So this is
Even
the way
we
to
don't
look
stop
at
looking.
it. Yeah, we can, but that's the whole point. We continue to look, but it's a skill now.
Right.
We couldn't help but develop and get that skill going so that we are on alert. We do watch what's going on in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep determining. Like when you think about writing an email for somebody, think about it. Am I doing it wholesome right now or not? What is wholesome? Maybe the wholesome thing to do is to stop thinking about writing that email and just enjoy the moment.
Just be there.
So this is right view, along in the Eightfold Noble Path that keeps bringing us out of the dukkha of the moment that we create with our concepts that are created because of our ignorance, and we don't like being ignorant. So what we're going to practice now is learning to love being in a state of not sure, I don't know, I don't care. That in fact, that's part of the problem that I have to keep when I'm talking about rebirth and reincarnation. I always have to keep reminding the people we don't know.
Right.
And that's okay. We don't know. But look how many people get in the arguments, oh, there is rebirth and reincarnation, and you, Dhammarato, are saying something different, therefore you must believe that it actually doesn't exist. And I can't say that. I can only say that, well, I don't have any evidence of it, and I don't know. And I don't know is the correct position for everybody, because nobody knows for sure.
Right.
But whole religions are founded upon that. Where would Christianity be if there is no afterlife? And everybody in Christianity knew that there's no afterlife. They might want to get their act together this life. But look at all of this religious stuff. I mean, Muslims and Hindus and many, many Buddhists and Christians and even atheists think about it that way.
Right, because they just collapse on the other side, the annihilationist side.
Yeah, right. They just, but I'm me as long as I'm alive.
Right.
Rather than recognizing, no, the me that you're using is actually still a concept.
Yeah.
What we really need to do in order to understand personality view is to keep looking. The real personality view is to view the personality while it's in a state of flux, knowing that it's in a state of flux. It's not fixed.
Who cares? Question mark.
Not the same. Right, let's leave those question marks there. We need to keep that joker going. We need those question marks.
Okay.
Don't want to come to conclusions, because the conclusions are going to be really painful when they get old.
Yeah, they will.
Just like those old wine, right? Those old concepts are like old wineskins. Don't put new consciousness into old concepts.
Does the consciousness age?
Yeah, consciousness to take input, to be here now. Let the seen be merely the seen. Let the heard be merely the heard.
Right.
Rather than, oh, I hear this, I know what it is, and I'm going to go get that guy. I hear that siren, that cop is coming. And so when we hear the siren, if we let the siren be merely the siren, then we can handle the situation. But if we hear the siren and think, uh-oh, this is dangerous.
The Greeks said it, too, when the fish women yelled at him, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Those were sirens, too, weren't they?
Yeah, the sirens, right. Exactly.
They got him on that island and kept him there.
Mm-hmm. And so when the sirens blow, we've got to go.
Yeah, right.
Because we have concepts about sirens. If we don't have any concepts about it, we could just let the siren whistle blow. That's okay. Let's see what's going on.
Okay. All right. I love that idea.
And all of this is built right there into the Eightfold Noble Path that fits so well into the concept of dukkha, dukkha, nirodha.
Yep.
If we could see what's going on, we can sidestep those concepts that bring on the dukkha.
Right. So what's
Not much to it, but we have to keep doing it over and over and over again, because we will automatically fall back into the concepts. That's the easy way out. This is work, in a way. This is effort. We have to take the effort to really look and investigate and make a change.
Okay. Right.
But the effort gets easier because it's a skill.
That's good to hear. I see that develop. That's amazing. That's I have no idea why this would only be for the few, but I love it so far.
Uh-huh.
Does it ever get to a point where they all wake up?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's probably.
But in fact, most likely it's going to come to the point that there are no Buddhas in the world at all, and there are no people woke up.
Oh.
Because that's how it was when the Buddha came along. He had to figure this stuff out for himself. He didn't have a teacher that would help him figure out Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha.
Yeah.
He had to figure that out for himself, but he had the skills to do it.
Right. A genius. Cow.
That's why it was almost like a wake-up revelation for him to say, dang it, what I've been looking for is what I could do as a child, and that is the first jhana. That first jhana, that's where we need to do. Because we're free from that. Under the rose apple tree. Exactly. That's the story of the rose apple tree. That's the path to enlightenment, is to stop with all of our concepts and be in the present moment.
Got it.
That's the secret to it. But it has to be done. You have to pay the rent. You have to keep breathing. Never mind, you've got a new mind moment. Yeah, you woke up. Yeah, you had a really marvelous experience a month ago. But don't try to cling to that experience. Let's have a new one.
Okay, deal. I get you. Fucking A right. Very good. Thank you so
So,
much,
DJ, here you are, an hour and 15 minutes after you said that you were going to want to hang around for 15 minutes.
Yeah, I guess the mind changed.
Well, guys,
Oh,
this has
man.
been a really, really beautiful talk. I really appreciate you guys getting it. That this is the easy way out is to take the right effort to look at what you're doing.
Got it.
And make a change to it. That's all there is to it. It's a very, very simple path. There's not much to the Dhamma, but you have to do it and do it and do it and do it. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat over and over and over again. Because there's always a new cop to stop you.
Got it. Thank you so much, my dear friends. I appreciate
Guys,
both of you.
Thank you, DJ. I really appreciate that you hung in there, and also what we were talking about before the call started. So we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for being my friend.
Thank
you so much for being mine. I appreciate you both. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Okay, bye-bye.